Right.
So, hello. We are representatives from UWGV's Engineering Club. My name is Jordan.
I'm Ellie.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Andy.
Now, you may notice another name on the screen. That's Katelyn. She's an advisor for our group, and she couldn't be here presenting today because she technically graduated in the spring, but we thought you should meet her. Next slide, please. So this is our friend Katelyn. Now, when we were brainstorming ideas for this competition, she shared with us an interesting story that I would like to share with you today. The other day, she was going to cook herself some spaghetti, and she was going to break the noodles before she put them in the pasta, or before she put them in the boiling water. And let me just emphasize the fact that she was trying to break the noodles. Next slide, please. As a result of an accident she was in recently, she had her wrist fractured, and it has affected many aspects of her life. And just the little things, like trying to break the spaghetti before you cook it. And I can personally resonate with that a lot. You see, as a result of a chronic use injury from work, I experience shooting pains in my wrist every day, and it really affects all the little things like driving, breaking spaghetti, and chopping vegetables. So with that in mind, we started thinking that this whole issue of injuries in the hands, wrists, and forearm merited further investigation. Next slide, please.
Injuries among fingers, hands, wrists, and forearms are more common than they seem to be. According to the World Health Organization, musculoskeletal conditions such as osteoarthritis, tendinitis, and carpal tunnel are the highest cause of physical disability. People with such disorders experience a loss of mobility and independence. Wrist injuries make it nearly impossible to use tools, including one of the most commonly used tools, a knife. This is why we've invented a device that aids in the process of cooking and helps people like our friend Katelyn gain back their independence. Next slide, please.
So there are multiple other available products, such as the ones you see on screen before you. So there's a cutting board with a knife slotted in there, and then there's a lemon juicer that looks a lot like a thing, you know? So with that, you have to put a lot of force on there. And if you have various wrist ailments and other sorts of stuff that allows your mobility to not be as good, these aren't for you because you have to use excessive amount of force and then it hurts. So it hurts to cook. Next slide, please. And that's why we invented the Choppa. And the Choppa is basically a cutting board that is designed to have multiple types of items go into it. So things like cucumbers and carrots, and then you just sit there and you chop things. It's very easy to use. You don't have to use a lot of force behind it, and it looks nice. You can put it on your countertop. Next slide, please.
The Choppa is designed using 3 simple parts. These parts include the blade, which allows us to cut a myriad of different objects, the locking pin, which allows for any interchangeability with future blade designs that we are currently working on, and finally, the board, which provides a nice, elegant wooden finish that you can stick on top of your counter and display for all, as well as providing a nice, stable, and sturdy cut. Next slide, please. In terms of our customer identification, we originally came up with the idea to assist any of the elderly or people who sometime in their life come up with a disability to their hands, fingers, wrist, or forearm. Cutting is a very difficult action on the tendons, so we intended to create a product that is able to be used by all people, no matter what ailment they have. Generally, we wanted to make this product available to everyone so that we didn't have a sort of basis that made the product more limiting, per se. Next slide, please.
Our plan to go from prototype to store shelves involves a 5-step process. Step 1, continue to identify and correct design flaws. 2 features we'd like to add include an ergonomic handle to the blade as well as a locking feature to keep the blade in place. Once we've perfected our model, we can move on to step 2, enhance the overall design. In the future, we hope to introduce various blade options and applications that fit the many requirements of cooking. For example, we hope to release an attachment that aids in the cutting of bread. Once we've perfected our model and its applications, we can move on to step 3, obtain intellectual property rights. Once a patent is obtained, we can move on to step 4, introducing consumer options, where various sizes and finishes will be introduced. For example, we hope to release a model with a granite finish for those who appreciate the form as well as the function. Finally, step 5 is to explore full automation. Our vision of this would be to introduce an application that goes in between the user's hand and the food to help create even slices, much like a deli slicer. Next slide, please.
You have 1 minute.
So in conclusion here, we have made the Choppa into a prototype. It looks nice, helps lots of people who are elderly, and then also people who have various ailments. And also to put into another market, we have chefs and other people as well that we can sell this object to. So it's going to make the struggle of cutting things. You're sitting there with a knife, chopping things up. It's very frustrating. Now you're just chopping things down like a paper machine cutter. And that's fun. It puts the fun back in cooking. And then lastly, we're going to be like the Doobie Brothers and taking it to the streets, bring it to market, haggle a little bit, and then make people feel like they can be independent and live fully again. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.
Thank you. Now we're going to open it up to questions from the judges for the team number 1. So we've got about 2 minutes. So judges, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to turn on video and audio.
A question, did you survey your intended user group, talking to persons with wrist injuries and maybe trying this out with some of your potential customers to see if it actually helped them?
We have not surveyed anyone per se. From our own experience, we anticipate this would be a good solution. However, before we start getting people to try it, we would like to finish the handle in particular, because that is going to be one of the big distinguishing factors between whether or not you have to do, painful movements with your wrist or whether you don't. So once we have a prototype fully made, we plan on expanding into some more of that.
This is Brian. Nice presentation. How do you envision it getting to market? How do you envision customers actually finding it?
Well, in the short term, we plan on making use of the internet just like we're doing today. It could be something small, like just on Etsy, or hopefully we'll put up a site and sell it there. We can run social media advertising campaigns. We have some members who really like to do that kind of stuff in the engineering club. So hopefully we can start small with what we have and expand.
You have about 1 minute left for judge questions.
Mary Bushy here. Just a comment, excellent presentation. And to me, it sounded like maybe you need to go to see the Shark Tank and present there.
Well, thank you.
Other questions from the judges?